Fortnite and Avengers ENDGAME is officially back. From Return of Thanos to a fresh battle pass, a live event, and the LTM we've literally been waiting years for, things are getting wild. Let's start with the insane news that as soon as April 3rd, the Avengers ENDGAME LTM is finally dropping in Fortnite OG. If you weren't around for the original run, this mode is absolute peak. It's basically a massive team-on-team war, where you're either part of the hero squad or joining Thanos and his Chitauri goons. If you're on the hero side, your job is to hunt down broken mythics like Captain America's shield, Thor's Stormbreaker, and Iron Man's repulsors to absolutely shred the invaders. But if you're playing for Team Thanos, the vibe is simple. Find the 6 Infinity Stones scattered across the map. The first person to snag a stone transforms into Thanos himself, and with every stone your team finds, you get even more buffed. We're talking doubled health, insane jump height, and literal god tier damage. The stakes are high because both teams get respawns, but as soon as Thanos' crew gets all 6 stones, respawns are off for the heroes. It's a total race to see if you can catch a snap royale, or if the Avengers can clutch up and save the island. We also just got the full roadmap for Fortnite OG Season 8. Some familiar faces are making a comeback this season, but there's a twist. They're not exactly the same characters we remember. The prisoner has officially broken free from the Ice King's chains and is about to summon a massive volcano from the depths of the island. Along with that, we're seeing the return of classic locations like Lazy Lagoon and Sunny Steps. But let's dive into the juicy details on all of this. Remember back in OG Season 5 when the Red Kevin the Cube emerged from the rift, changing the rift's behavior and all the runes. For weeks, this cube rolled across the OG island, leaving behind those wicked red runes. Every so often, the moon would change colors from red to finally settle on purple, and the same thing happened to the bunker. Eventually, the red cube slid into Loot Lake. But what's the big deal with all this? Over the last 3 OG seasons, the descriptions for the Visitor, My Favorite Drift, and all other skins all contain the word unknown, which highlights how important the unknown reality, where the OG island is located, really is. Strangely enough, Kevin's island reverted to its original purple color in Season 6. That's because the red rift energy was moved beneath the island, reaching the 0 Points core. This led to the Red Kevin the Cube showing up during the Butterfly event. However, before that happened, a whisper of the Titans echoed from the bunker. I think this was a nod to the Dark Presence, a Titan we were about to fight. It's a pretty big deal because the word on the street is that the Red Butterfly was sent to the OG reality by none other than the Dark Presence way back in Season 4. But the Dark Presence was actually used by someone even darker to send that butterfly. This brings us to the Butterfly event, which, just like 6 years ago, started with the cube exploding. This time though, after visiting the in-between, the red cube was still there. If you look closer, you can see it turned several of the dimensional lines red, and even weirder, energy pulsed out from the 0 Points core through them, unlike the others. For those who don't know, the in-between is a separate dimension inside the 0 Point. The lines you see are the existing realities, and this dimension is one giant circle connecting every single reality to the 0 Point as its core. This tells us that the red cube is responsible for messing with several realities. So, how did the cube get to the in-between? My guess is that the cube somehow duplicated itself while entering Loot Lake, creating 2 versions, one purple and one red. Then, less than a week before the biggest event in Fortnite history, the 0 Hour, the red cube that appeared during the event is 100% from the OG reality, which perfectly explains the Titans and 0 Hour messages encoded in Morse code. But there's one question left. How did Jonesy know the red cube existed? Honestly, I don't think he knew at all. All he wanted was to teleport the old purple Kevin he remembered from Chapter 1. However, all the changes in the current OG reality led to the new red cube being brought in. Despite its different look, it got the job done and ended the Dark Presence. Since the OG Battle Passes dropped, almost every season has had hints about something called the unknown. In each season, a character had dialogue about it. Drift said we should seek the unknown, and Lynx tells us to check out what the unknown has to offer, and investigate your unknown surroundings. Overall, Lynx's introduction brought us closer to solving the mystery of what the unknown is. We now have 100% confirmation that it's closely tied to the last reality. Let's move on to the Visitor. Since the start of Chapter 7, we've known that his NPC would return to the Battle Royale island after many years, and instead of his original skin, it would be the Visitor from OG mode. I don't trust him one bit, because he was most likely manipulated by the last reality, and he's the last person I'd believe. There are two possibilities. Either the last reality has full control over him, or they're secretly using him for their sinister plans. The same kind of plans the Ice King has tucked away. You heard that right? Officially, after 7 years of being gone, he's back. The Ice King is too important and vital a character in Fortnite story to be destroyed in such a spectacular way. So, it's possible his new version is intentionally bad because Epic wanted to show us that the OG Ice King isn't the one we remember. I believe his story will be significantly expanded then, and maybe we'll finally get an explanation for what that huge table in his castle made of runes really was. Furthermore, if you look at the entrance to the castle at Polar Peak, you'll find that table and his knights, who were mentioned in the Zero War comics, as well as one overturned chair symbolizing the prisoner, who was once the Ice King's most loyal companion. The Ice King and his 5 knights once gathered a weapon too dangerous to leave in the universe, but the prisoner decided to betray them because he believed they should use the weapon to conquer the world. The Ice King, of course, disagreed and extinguished his flame, turning him into chilled rock at the bottom of the ocean. The weapon in question is, naturally, the Infinity Blade. Let's check out the new Ice King's design, because he looks like a modernized, clean skin, just like Drift, Lynx, and the Visitor. All the OG skins seem to be connected, and a lot better than the ones from the past. However, even though they remember the events of the past on this island, I don't think it makes any sense. In my opinion, the OG Visitor is a different Visitor from the one we know, which would explain the changed 7 logo on his armor. This also means that none of the character we met in OG are the same one we remember. They are completely different versions of them. As Chapter 7 began, it became clear that the last reality controlled every little detail of Fortnite's story until the defeat of the Dark Presence, calling it all the learning phase. And that's our key to knowing the whole truth about OG mode. The last reality has been messing with the 0 point from the very start, learning everything about the loopers, Fortnite Island. The start of Season 2 has completely turned the entire Fortnite storyline upside down, and right now, all eyes are locked on the Ice King. What began as a simple turf war has escalated into an all-out battle for reality itself. Can we actually piece together the crazy mysteries this season is hiding? Honestly, if you're not keeping up with the Fortnite lore lately, you are heavily missing out. We are finally getting those massive events and payoffs we've been waiting literal years for. And no, this season's storyline isn't just about some alien orb bouncing around the map. Basically, the narrative right now is entirely focused on the Order, trying to track down the rest of the 7, with an assist from this alternate version of the Visitor. That's exactly why they can't go head-to-head just yet. They are seriously lacking the manpower. Meanwhile, the Voyager has been hopping through different key realities, snatching up fragments of the 0 point. It definitely looks like he's trying to rebuild it, but he's doing it completely his own way. After freezing the entire island, the Ice King somehow made it over to the Golden Coast, which is the island from the regular Battle Royale mode. This is huge because it officially connects both game modes in a way that is way more concrete than anything we've seen before. Speaking of which, we got this icy biome with castles and all that, which obviously belongs to the Ice King. We see him strolling down a hallway full of incredibly powerful living beings, to put it lightly. It's still up in the air if this is the OG Ice King we've always known, or an alternate version. He's rocking a different skin and look, but it could easily just be the same guy with a fresh coat of paint. Either way, his overall mission seems identical. If you remember, the Ice King was never actually a villain in the lore. The Marvel comics completely cleared his name. His whole vibe was just freezing any artifact or living thing from any reality that posed a massive threat or held too much power. He was never loyal to the Imagined Order or the 7, he just operated on his own terms. But this specific version of the Ice King might actually be evil by nature. If he ends up teaming up with the Voyager, it's either because he's entering his villain era, or maybe this new version of the 7 are actually the bad guys this time around. There are a ton of possibilities on the table. Next up, we catch a glimpse of the Prisoner, specifically his original version. That tracks, considering they used to be allies from different kingdoms, even though the prisoner was always obsessed with tweaking realities using universal artifacts. The last time we saw the OG prisoner was also in the Marvel comics, where he ended up frozen underwater again. But if he's here now, how is the OG mode storyline going to work? Next season, Season 8, is incredibly important because he's the one who summons the volcano and wakes up the Devourer. My bet is that at some point next season, the prisoner is going to find a way back to the OG island to make all of that happen. We also have Aurelia in the mix, who is related to Marigold, or basically her undead version. Normally I'd think they just dropped that skin in for the aesthetic, but with how much lore Fortnite is packing into this chapter, Aurelia might actually be super relevant next season. She's essentially a guardian against tomb raiders. That makes total sense, because if the Ice King is out here freezing artifacts and beings, he'd definitely have to cross paths with the Guardian protecting them. There's also another Captain America skin, though I don't think there's insanely deep lore there. It's probably just flexing a new look for a character whose whole brand is being frozen for ages and waking up as a man out of time. And finally, after all this waiting, we get the Foundation. He's back in different armor, rocking a silver suit and a leather vest. The big question is whether this is our Foundation or an alternate version from the new 7. Since the alternate visitor has a totally different helmet design, and the Foundation still has his classic visor, it's probably our guy. Those visor symbols are basically their ancestral branding. It's how you verify the original. But why is he frozen? If you look super closely, he's frozen mid-fight. He was definitely throwing down with someone, maybe even the Ice King himself. They used to see eye to eye on the 0 point, so it's wild that they'd be rivals now. I'm guessing that if the Ice King is evil now, it's the fallout from the 7 failing to free the 0 point from the imagined order, which obviously brought a wave of terrible consequences. Since Season 2 is titled Showdown, we are clearly getting a massive clash between factions. I personally think the Ice King will step up as a third faction, meaning the core season is going to be a massive 3-way war. The 7 versus the Dark Voyager versus the Ice King. Every Season 2 in Fortnite history has been heavy on faction wars, and they are famous for being straight up peak in terms of gameplay and lore. This time will definitely be no exception. I am genuinely loving how fast and consistent the story pacing is right now. Back in the day, we would have waited multiple seasons just to see a spaceship land, but now it feels fast-paced without feeling rushed at all. Taking all this into account, here is my main plot prediction. The Dark Voyager's constant reality hopping and hoarding of 0 point fragments has seriously ticked off the rulers of those realities. Now, they've tracked him all the way to Golden Coast to take back what he stole. Everyone wants a piece of that power. So we are looking at all the factions on the island, fighting a massive free-for-all brawl for those fragments. All of this chaos is happening right as it collides with OG Mode's Season 8, and the entire thing is going to climax with the Devourer waking up. I'll throw out a few more rapid-fire predictions before we wrap up. I think the Ice King is finally getting voice lines, and the link between Battle Royale and OG is going to be permanent and game-changing. We probably won't see all of the 7 return until Season 3, and Marvel will absolutely shoehorn some lore in using that new Steve Rogers skin. Midas is almost guaranteed to show up since he practically lives for Season 2's. On the flip side, I highly doubt the Imagined Order will make an appearance right now since they didn't even show up until Chapter 2 Season 5 anyway. They are definitely saving them for later. Epic is taking the story in such a massive direction by bringing back these high-potential characters. If you vibe with this content, definitely show some love by using the super powerful code PUNKED in the Fortnite item shop. I'll leave you full trailer's breakdown in case you missed it. This trailer is all about the lore, featuring the Cubehead who's currently hunting for the 0 point shards. That's why we're seeing this villain crew square off against the 7, who are slowly but surely making their way back to the island. The trailer kicks off with a bang inside the Voyager's ship. We've seen it from the outside all season, but this is the first time we've gotten a peek at what's inside. It could even be a new location for Season 2, which would be totally sick. As we already know, Dark Voyager has been working with the Last Reality since the start of the season. Just like back in Chapter 2 with the Cube Queen, they've got an army of soldiers, the Elite Intruders, who actually dropped as skins ages ago. These guys are basically small Kevin-style cubes wearing humanoid armor, which we know from the second style of those skins. A small detail that's easy to miss is that they're gold, which suggests they're higher rank than the Chapter 2 versions, and will probably be a new style that gets added at the start of Season 2, though I hope they aren't a separate skin. I'm also betting there'll be rival bots that pop up to defend their boss, the Dark Voyager, and hopefully they'll all be chilling inside the ship. Their weapons actually look like two new Season 2 guns, and while they seem similar, one has a strap and a llama sticker, and the other doesn't. Now that we've checked out the army, the million-dollar question is why Fishstick has so much knowledge. The Voyager has him kidnapped, trying to squeeze out the location of the 0-point shard. My first thought was that Fishstick was like the Peely from Chapter 5, super knowledgeable, and that's why they snatched him. But the most obvious answer is that this Fishstick is originally from Reality 7021, which is where a 0-point shard ended up. While the Voyager searches for this reality on his screen, we can see a ton of interesting details, like how the fish shares DNA with regular fish, and that they all come from the same reality. On the fragment screen, we see 3 of 7. That last number is probably the total number of shards scattered across the universe, and this one is either the third they've counted, or the third one they're missing. As for the lighthouse blueprint, anyone paying attention to the story has already clocked that it's the same one we saw on the loading screen, which means we still have 2 more spots to travel to. One of them is the ice castle, which they showed in first trailer, and while the fragment wasn't in that video, the screen confirms it's there. The other spot looks like a desert or something. The last screen shows the Slurp sprites who arrived in Fortnite Chapter 6. In the next scene, the ship jumps to the new reality where the new Battle Pass skin is fishing. This is where the ship starts to suck up everything below it, which is Coral Castle. This location first appeared in Chapter 2 Season 3, but it looks like it's native to this world, and its inhabitants are all aquatic skins we've already seen in the game. Plus, there are several disguised Joneses who have somehow learned to breathe underwater. The trailer wraps up with the new skin landing on the ship, and the Voyager orders his soldiers to grab the squid, while he gets mad at Fishstick for ratting out where they were. That's how the new character gets to our reality and island, but theoretically they'll be trapped by the Voyager. So, we'll have to see how they explain the breakout in the upcoming videos. I'll give you my theory right now. One of those soldiers is actually Hope, or another good guy who's currently undercover in the Dark Voyager's army. That would explain why one SMG has a llama sticker and the other doesn't. It makes more sense than them being 2 different guns, though I wouldn't rule that out. I'm also fairly sure both the new skin and Fishstick will be NPCs next season, since the video ends with a message that the Fishstick will return. Oh, and everyone already knew this was a Marvel reference, but with this second scene, literally copying what they did in the first trailer, and what Marvel does with every trailer, it's 100% confirmed that they're pulling a Doomsday. I've already shared my theory that it would be awesome if we saw Marvel characters pop up over the next few months, leading to a collaboration in December when the movie comes out, maybe even another season or a mini event with Marvel.